Commander Vrill Zandar scratched his blue-scaled head crest and glared at the sensor display. 17 cycles on this forsaken observation post at the edge of the Andromeda Arm, and nothing. Nothing. Until today. "Sir, the anomaly is still there," said Junior Officer Lyra Benthos, her 4 eyes blinking nervously as she adjusted the sensitivity on the quantum scanner. "Just sitting there. One ship. Alone. One ship. Pfft." Vrill snorted, his gill slits flaring in amusement. "What kind of invasion force is that? Run the signature through the database again." The observation post hummed quietly around them, the transparent dome ceiling revealing the vast starscape beyond. Most of the Galtarian crew were busy with standard maintenance, unaware of the potential situation developing. "Sir, the energy signature." Lyra hesitated, her voice dropping to a whisper. "It matches the old records. The, Terran fleet records." "Oh, for the love of the 7 moons." Vrill threw his arms up, all 3 of them. "Not that nonsense again. Humans are bedtime stories we tell hatchlings to make them behave. Eat your nutrient paste or the humans will come with their unpredictable emotions." Lyra stood her ground. "The records are quite specific, Commander. And this signature matches perfectly." "Impossible," Vrill said, sipping his fermented algae juice. "Humans disappeared from known space centuries ago. Probably blew themselves up with their ridiculous propensity for pushing buttons they shouldn't push." He laughed at his own joke, but Lyra didn't join in. "Sir," she said, her voice suddenly tight. "The signal. It's changing." Vrill turned back to the main view screen just as it erupted with light. The single blip multiplied. 2, 10, 50, hundreds of signals bloomed across the scanner like a viral colony in growth medium. "What in the gaseous nebulae?" Vrill's jaw dropped, literally unhinging as Galtarians do when completely shocked. "They dropped their cloaking technology," Lyra whispered in awe. "A whole fleet, sir. The legends. They're real." The communication panel chirped. "Incoming transmission, standard universal frequency," called out the communications officer, panic evident in his warbling voice. Vrill's mind raced faster than a quantum particle. "Fight? No, not against that. Run? Where to? His career would be over. Communicate? With the stuff of legends? Sir? Should we respond?" Lyra prompted. Vrill stared at the screen, at the armada that had materialized from nowhere, and felt the weight of his entire species' future on his shoulders. "Open the channel," he croaked. "And pray to whatever gods might be listening that they're in a good mood." The holographic display flickered to life, revealing a human female with dark skin and short silver hair. She wore a crisp uniform adorned with colorful pins and emblems that probably signified something important. "Hey, Admiral Maya Blackwell of the Terran Exploration Fleet," she announced with a casual wave. "Sorry about the whole cloaking thing. We found it's better to scope out the neighborhood before knocking on the door. Hope we didn't give you folks too much of a fright." Vrill blinked rapidly, his tertiary eyelid fluttering in confusion. Was this how military leaders spoke? Where was the formal declaration of dominance? The listing of conquered worlds? "Commander Vrill Zandar of the Galtarian Confederation," he replied stiffly. "We acknowledge your presence in our territory." Admiral Blackwell laughed, an alarming sound that made several junior officers scuttle backward. "Territory? Oh honey, we're just passing through. We've been mapping the universe's edge. Fascinating stuff out there. Anyway, mind if we pop over for a chat? I've got some excellent coffee, and I'm dying to meet actual Galtarians." 6 hours later, Vrill found himself seated at a diplomatic dinner aboard the human flagship, the Curiosity. He couldn't stop remembering his galactic history lessons. Humans, a paradoxical species who mysteriously vanished during the Third Galactic Era. Known for their contradictory behaviors, creating both poetry and planet crackers. Yet here they were, telling jokes and spilling drinks. So then I said to the Proximan ambassador, "That's not my helmet, that's my coffee maker." Admiral Blackwell roared with laughter, slapping the table. Vrill attempted to smile, a grimace-like expression that revealed far too many teeth. The humans seemed charmed rather than threatened. "Admiral," Vrill ventured cautiously. "Our histories suggest humans were conquerors. Yet you speak of exploration." Maya's expression softened. "Ah, that old reputation. Look, we had our aggressive phase, sure. But we grew out of it. Turns out, the universe is too amazing to waste time conquering it. We'd rather understand it." Lieutenant Dax Parker, a lanky human with bright orange hair, approached with a datapad. "Sorry to interrupt the party, Admiral, but we're picking up Nexar signatures at the edge of this sector." Maya's expression darkened. "Well, Commander Zandar, it seems our reunion comes at an interesting time. Ever heard of the Nexar Horde?" The food in Vrill's 3 stomachs turned to stone. Everyone had heard of the Nexar, mindless consumers of worlds. "They're headed this way," Maya said grimly. "And they're hungry." The Galtarian Military Council, connected via secure quantum link, stared at Vrill with expressions ranging from disbelief to outright hostility. "You want us to ally with humans?" Grand Marshal Pex bellowed, his ceremonial head crest quivering with indignation. "Creatures of myth and legend? Commander Zandar, have you been ingesting recreational spores again?" "With all due respect, Marshal," Vrill countered, "the Nexar Horde will reach our sector in less than 2 planetary rotations. The humans have faced them before. And survived." Admiral Blackwell stood beside him, remarkably unfazed by the 7 intimidating Galtarian leaders questioning her very existence. She casually unwrapped something called a candy bar and took a bite. "Look, folks," she said, chewing. "We don't have to like each other. But those squishy purple world eaters don't discriminate in what they consume. So how about we compare notes?" The strategic planning session that followed was chaos. Galtarian battle doctrine emphasized precision, symmetrical formations, and calculated sacrifices. The humans brought whatever the opposite of that was. "You want to do what with your faster-than-light drives?" asked Tactical Officer Nex, his scales practically falling off in shock. Lieutenant Parker grinned. "Create a cascading temporal displacement wave by deliberately desynchronizing our warp fields. We call it, making a mess of spacetime. That violates 17 laws of physics." Nex sputtered. "Only the ones we know about," Parker winked. As the day progressed, reluctant respect began to form. The humans had developed weapons specifically designed to target Nexar biology. They shared the technology freely, helping Galtarian engineers modify their particle cannons. "Why would you give us this?" Vrill asked Maya privately, as they watched technicians install the modifications. "Because we're supposed to be the good guys," she replied simply. "That's the point of all this exploring and existing, isn't it?" The night before the battle, the observation post's mess hall had transformed. Human and Galtarian soldiers shared meals, stories, and even songs. A human sergeant showed a fascinated group of Galtarians something called thumb wrestling, while elsewhere, Galtarians taught humans their ancestral war chants. Vrill found himself sitting across from Admiral Blackwell, who was nursing a drink she called bourbon. "You know," she said thoughtfully, "our histories mention the Galtarians. Called you the Blue Guardians of Order. And our histories called humans unpredictable chaos monkeys," Vrill replied. They both laughed, a shared moment of understanding before the storm. Perhaps, Vrill mused, watching their crews interact, chaos and order together might be exactly what we need. A warning klaxon sounded. The Nexar had arrived early. Space erupted in a symphony of destruction. The vast Nexar Horde, a writhing mass of violet-hued biomechanical ships, surged toward the combined Galtarian human defensive line. Maintain formation. Vrill ordered from the command chair of the Galtarian flagship Precise Justice. Standard attack pattern Theta 9. The Galtarian vessels moved with mathematical precision, their formation a perfect geometric array that would distribute firepower with optimal efficiency. It was textbook strategy. It failed spectacularly. The Nexar simply absorbed the concentrated fire and adapted, their organic ships growing thicker armor where the attacks landed. "Commander!" Lyra shouted over the blaring alarms. 3 Nexar dreadnoughts breaking through Sector 7. Vrill's heart sank. Sector 7 was directly in line with the Precise Justice. Brace for imp, the expected collision never came. Instead, 5 human ships shot past, flying in what could only be described as a drunken zigzag pattern. "Yeehaw!" Admiral Blackwell's voice crackled over the comm, executing Operation Curveball. The human vessels began flying in tight spirals around each other while simultaneously releasing what appeared to be mining explosives. The unpredictable pattern confused the Nexar targeting systems, and the explosives created a chaotic field of debris and energy distortions. "What are they doing?" Lyra gasped. "Saving our scales," Vrill replied, awestruck. The battle's turning point came when a human science vessel transmitted new frequencies to the Galtarian fleet. "Modulate your particle beams to these settings," Lieutenant Parker instructed. "Our analysis shows the Nexar ships communicate through quantum entanglement at this exact frequency." When the combined fleet fired their newly calibrated weapons, the effect was immediate. The Nexar ships didn't just take damage, they lost coordination, bumping into each other like confused herd animals. "Press the advantage," Vrill ordered, abandoning the perfect formation for a more human approach. 2 hours later, the remnants of the Nexar Horde retreated into deep space. The celebration aboard the observation post would go down in Galtarian history. Humans introduced concepts like conga lines and karaoke, both equally terrifying to the orderly Galtarians, yet strangely addictive. 1 week later, the formal alliance ceremony took place. Admiral Blackwell and Commander Vrill signed the historic document while representatives from both species cheered. That evening, Vrill sat at his terminal, updating the galactic records. He hesitated at the entry labeled "Human, Mythological Species," then deleted it and typed, "Human, Allies and Friends." He took a sip from the cup of coffee Maya had given him, grimaced at the bitter taste, then grinned despite himself. "Never underestimate," he muttered, "a species crazy enough to evolve drinking poison for enjoyment and call it a morning ritual."